The fake news now says the most dangerous weather is hot weather, after years of saying the exact opposite. Were they lying then, or are they lying now? Today, on The 10th Man. They say heat is now the deadliest weather threat in America. Don't worry about fentanyl or homicide. Don't worry about freezing to death in a Chicago alley in February. Nope, just good old sunshine. Apparently, we're all 1 degree away from death, according to sources like ABC News, who say this.
Across the country, extreme heat causes more deaths each year than any other weather event.
Across the country, extreme heat causes more deaths each year than any other weather event. Wow. Thank you, scientists at ABC. Well, somewhere out there, a snowstorm just rolled its eyes while it quietly killed 10 people. But sure, let's all panic over a sweaty afternoon in Phoenix. Let me ask you something. If heat is so deadly, why is every poor culture on Earth living in it? Why do people retire to Florida and not from it? And why don't we even have a phrase like he heated to death? We do have he froze to death. It's the exact grammatical opposite. Well, the reason we don't is because it's cold that kills and heat doesn't. Cold will kill you slowly or instantly, quietly, and most importantly, cold will kill you all by itself. It doesn't need any help. Because people ostensibly do die of heat, but it always takes a little bit of effort and a few bad decisions on their part. So today, once again, we're going to dismantle this lie, he said wearily. Because why do we have to? Why is it that the news spreads lies like this? Shouldn't they be the ones telling the truth and debunking the lies? But these lies come out again and again, and we just accept them. So we'll put it to rest. We'll talk biology, climate, politics, and the bigger pattern of deception that it all fits into. So let's go. The whole idea that heat is deadlier than cold, it's not just false, it's insultingly false. For decades, studies have shown that cold kills more people than the heat does, and by a wide margin. In fact, if there's such a thing as climate change and global warming, it's going to save lives, 5 to 10,000 a year, just in the United States. Because a major international study from The Lancet examined 74 million deaths in 13 countries, and it found that the cold caused not just more deaths, it caused 20 times as many deaths as heat does. Funny, everybody's forgotten about that study. And the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, their data for over a decade showed the same thing. Until one day, the narrative needed to have a rewrite. And that's your CDC for you. So what changed all of a sudden? Did the science? Well, our understanding of science might change a little bit from time to time, but the science does not. So what changed was the politics. Sometime around 2015 to 2021, we watched a slow narrative shift. Government agencies redefined what counted as a heat death. That sounds familiar. And the media outlets started repeating a new soundbite. Heat is the deadliest weather phenomenon. But the problem is it's simply not true. You know, science and biology, those are not political. And they can pretend all they want, but the fact is it just can't be true that heat is more deadly. And that's simple science and simple biology. And why? Well, it's because we humans are heat-adapted creatures. We're adapted to live where it's hot, not the opposite. We were created, or we evolved, take your pick, in the heat. Our earliest ancestors, according to science, they were discovered in Africa by the Leakeys. That original human, what was her name? Was it Judy? I forget her name. But she was discovered in Eastern Africa, not Norway, not Finland. And then how about this? What's the definition of a mammal? It's a creature that gives milk and has hair, isn't it? But among all the mammals, we are the ones who are virtually hairless. Well, some more hairless than others. But virtually hairless and virtually hairless mammals are very few. It's basically us and the elephants. Name another one. There probably is one, but I can't think of one. And there's no elephants in Norway either. We're also one of the very few animals on Earth that sweat. Sometimes people talk about animals that don't sweat as if they're exceptions. No, we are the exception. We're the exception because we were not created for the cold, but we learned to survive winter. Learned. And it wasn't through evolution, it was through technology. Have you ever thought about that? The first human invention wasn't the wheel or the spear, it was fire, a chemical reaction, the artificial creation of heat. That's a huge thing that we take for granted, and it tells you everything because surviving in the cold, it requires an external solution. Now think about these. We have fire, fuel, shelter, insulation, clothing, which is a form of insulation, and all of those things are inventions. They're all technology, and their technology is so old we forget that it's technology. We think that our clothes are to express ourselves, but clothing is to keep us warm because we decided to move to where it's cold. And the solution to adapting to heat? Well, you just stop working in the daytime. You just sit down. You can pour water on your head. And you didn't have to invent the water either. You just get water that exists and pour it on your head. You don't need air conditioning to survive the heat. That technology is very recent. All you need is a hose, a sponge, or a bottle of water. The poorest people in the world, the ones who have no electricity, let alone air conditioning, they live in hot climates, not cold ones. And they're not dying in droves. But you take a poor person in a cold climate and remove their source of heat, they're gone. Now, I think we have to be a little bit blunt here. The people who die in the heat are usually doing something dumb. They'll go out of their way to move to Arizona, go live in a trailer, then they don't fix the AC or they shut it off to save money. Those are actual news stories. Or they decide to go mow the lawn at 2 p.m. Or they're trying to work construction in 105-degree heat. And even then, they can stop, you know. The Apache and the Navajo who lived there, they weren't that dumb. All you got to do is stop. Take a break. Then you can cool down and you can live. And that's where the cold is entirely different. The cold, the real killer, because cold kills people who are doing nothing wrong. All you have to do is sit too long in an unheated house, or the elderly people who lose power during a winter storm. Because cold doesn't require you to exert yourself or do something dumb. Cold will just show up, and if you're unprepared, you're dead. You see, this is the real science. And actually, it isn't even science, is it? It's just common sense. It's what we could all observe without ever studying what we call science. And if nobody had ever told you different, you never would have thought anything else. You never would have thought that heat was killing people. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Because this heat death hype, the idea that hot weather kills people more than cold, it's not just an isolated fib, it's part of a pattern that we've seen before. Oh yeah, we saw a lot of it. How about COVID deaths? Remember when anyone who died with COVID was counted as dying of COVID? It went into the tally, and what did that do? Well, it inflated the COVID numbers, which in turn justified lockdowns, and it drove fear. Oh, they love fear, don't they? And this kept the grants flowing, the money. And there you go. That's what it always is, isn't it? Follow the money. Now, they're just doing the same thing, only it's with the heat. You die of heart failure in July, it's a heat death. You were dehydrated and you fell, a heat death. You fainted in the parking lot when there was a warm breeze and got run over by a bus? Well, call the EPA. It's another heat death. Same formula, it's just a different cause. Different cause, but the same manipulation of data, and these lies are all over. Another one is gun deaths in kids. We're told that guns are the #1 killer of children. Absolutely false. It is absolutely false. Meanwhile, toddlers are drowning in pools. There's an epidemic of that. And young adults are overdosing on fentanyl. There's an epidemic of that. But the headlines don't say the truth. It doesn't tell us the things we should be looking out for because the truth doesn't move policy. But fear does. Are you starting to see a pattern? How about all these terms that really have no meaning anymore? Humanitarian crisis, extreme weather. Just meaningless terms anymore because they redefine reality to match their politics. And anyone who pushes back, well, you're now the science denier. So we have to harp on this because it's a blatant lie that they're getting away with, and it's not just about heat or cold. It's about trust. If they'll lie to you about what weather kills people, they'll lie to you about anything. They'll scare you into compliance, into handing over control of your car, your thermostat, and your kitchen stove. And it's all to protect you from a heat wave that mostly kills people who ignore common sense. And then when the power grid fails during a January ice storm, don't expect a retraction. So, no, heat isn't the deadliest weather threat. It's just the most politically convenient one. Cold kills more people, as it has for centuries. But heat gets the headlines because heat gets the money. And the next time they tell you the science is settled, check who paid for it. This is the 10th man. And if you're tired of fake statistics, manipulated headlines, and fear-based policy, share this episode. Because truth doesn't trend. You have to push it.